Hi everyone, welcome back to the podcast. If you're new, welcome. If you're a veteran, thank you for coming back. Today we're gonna talk about overheating, heat
Heat
exhaustion.
exhaust,
Yeah,
death. Dogs dying of heat. Yeah.
yeah,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, which is serious because we're
Yeah.
we're in the summer right now when we're recording this. I should say the beginning of the summer.
And
But
it's not just Arizona problem. It's
yeah,
all over the United States.
yeah, and it could be dangerous anywhere, but
Yeah.
Arizona especially because it's just
Yeah.
so extreme. But
Especially in cars, you have greenhouse effect.
yeah, could you enlighten us about the signs of when the dog is overheating and in general just when they should be given water to, kind of just
Yeah.
not even in the car, but just
Well, a lot of times what people think is that the short hair breeds are better off in heat than the long hair breed. And it's not true, okay? Because actually, I believe, and I can justify it or why I think that, the long hair, like German Shepherds, are better than short hair, like Dobermans or Malinois or short hair breeds. And the reason is, people say, "Oh, how come?" And I said, "Well, you have a house, right? And it has a thick insulation or thin insulation. Which house is gonna be cooler,
yeah,
right? The thick insulation, right?" Now, of course, when they do overheat, then the one with longer
thinner
hair will have a harder time to cool
cool
down,
down.
right?
Yeah,
But they will have a less likely overheating than
yeah,
the short
it will
coat
take
dogs.
longer. Yeah,
Yeah, the dogs, like German Shepherds, have such a wonderful coat. They have a double coat, and when it rains or something, the water is running around top of it, and they don't get the moisture to their skin, even so they may be soaking wet on the surface.
so they're not.
You know, and so we need to learn and know how to recognize when the dog is overheating. There was a police dog in Kingman area doing some tracking or searching for dead person or whatever, cadaver dog. And the cop, the canine handlers, they were so enthused in it that they just didn't observe the obvious overheating, you know, of the dog, and the dog collapsed and died, right? And while the people still were not overheating, right? So how come? Because we sweat, right? And when you sweat, your body, the heat is evaporizing the moisture from your skin, the sweat. That's why we sweat.
Yeah.
It's not just that the sweat is running on us. What actually cools us down is the evaporization of the sweat, which causes the cool thing. So when you put a water, let's say, on your hand, and as it evaporizing, that's what causes you to cool down.
Yeah, you blow on it, you can
Yeah, it's
feel
like
the
a swamp cooler. I don't know. Here in Arizona, because we have a dry heat, there is a cooling system called swamp cooler or evaporative cooler,
evap.
right? And the water is running over the mats, and the hot air is passing through the mat, which is the water running over it, and as it passes through the air, it picks up the moisture from the mat, and that way the air cools.
Yeah,
Right, and that's the same thing what the dog does with their tongue. Right, the only way kind of they can cool is very inefficient. Is just as the dog pants, the air running over his tongue back and forth, evaporizing the moisture from the tongue, and the tongue cools, and then it cools the rest of the body. And you can tell that the dog is getting overheated when he has what I call machine gun panting, right? It's just so they breathe
Yeah.
several times per second. They
Yeah.
can inhale, exhale, because the body is desperately trying to cool through the tongue, and the tongue kind of hangs out and swells to be bigger.
yeah,
So the surface is bigger and also curls up. The tip of the tongue curls up like a spoon shape kind of
Yeah.
curl, and so that as the air is running out of on the exhale from the dog's mouth, it hit the tip of the tongue
Yeah.
under more pressure, so it evaporizes faster, just like when you blow on a hot coffee on your spoon or hot soup.
Yeah.
You blowing on it, it'll cool it down, right?
Yeah.
It's the same thing what dog does, and that tongue is like a spoon shaped, and that's how they cool down. Dog, and dogs don't sweat except from the bottom of their paws. You can see it if you look at their paws when it's hot. You will see like a pinhead size little dark spots, and that's actually sweat. But otherwise, dogs don't sweat.
Yeah.
So they don't have the ability to cool down like we do. Now, if we are in hot weather here in Arizona, 110, 120 degrees, we still can function, but dog just cannot, right? And so let's say if you hike through the desert or something, you can see the dog, what I call shade diving, right? You go and they run a little bit ahead, and there's a little bush, so they lay in the shade.
Yeah. We've seen it.
And then, when you catch up with them, they wait, until you go another 100 feet, and then they run again to the next bush.
Yeah.
Right? When the dog starts doing that, they're basically getting overheated, and that's their instinct. They're smarter than we are, I guess, or the people, and they're looking for shade. We don't need one yet, right? But when you start seeing it, you need to
Those are the signs.
start paying attention because the dog is getting overheated, right?
Yeah.
And maybe it's a good time to maybe take a break, and sit down in the bush and watch how he pants, really fast panting. Dog is starting to get into trouble, so stop, find a shade, and dogs are fine as long as they're in the shade. But until they reach certain level of the heat, and then not even shade will help them. So they need to be cooled down by water. You can give them drink cool water if you have one, if you have some. And that cool water being drink also cools their body.
Yeah.
Or you can take a hose, make sure the hot water
It's not.
runs out of the hose. And here in Arizona, it's really hard to find a cool water coming out of the hose. But
Not in the summer.
in summer, right? But it's better than. It's better than if it's kind of lukewarm, it's okay, and you can kind of put thumb over the hose and kind of spray it, and as the water flies through the air, again it starts evaporizing those little droplets and cools itself down. So by the time it hit the dog, it may get cool, right? So you kind of spray the dog and visit, and you can spray the belly where it goes directly to the skin, because as I said, the dog with longer hair, like German Shepherds, the water run on the surface. So you gotta make sure that the water goes all the way to the skin and not just spraying it because the skin needs to get wet. Okay?
Yeah.
So the skin needs to get wet. So next thing is, of course, ice is good, and so if you have some, right,
Yeah.
but if you're in the desert, you don't. But if you are, let's say, in your backyard, you may have ice in,
Yeah.
in your ice cooler or freezer or something like that. So you can take a tub of water and dump in a bunch of ice, and then put the dog in it to cool down.
Yeah.
Right. Because if the dog's temperature goes too high, it causes brain damage, and dog is gonna die. Right? I remember I've been by a vet, and once I came to my vet, and there's these two dogs laying down, still alive, on the floor in the back of the office, And I said, "What's up with these dogs?" And the guy says, the vet says, "Yeah, they got overheated in a car, and the guy called. And we told him break the window, and he didn't want to break a window. He's waiting for a locksmith to open his car. Of course, by then the door. I mean, it takes few minutes.
Yeah. That's it.
And you may think your AC is running, but it may not be running.
Yeah.
Right. And you don't know. You're in the grocery store.
Yeah.
So they're selling. You can buy on internet devices which are apps for your cell phone,
Yeah.
and they will, you put it in your car,
Yeah.
and it will alert you. You can set up the temperature,
Yeah.
let's say 80 or 78 or something in your car, and when the temperature start hitting above that temperature, it'll alert you on a cell phone.
Yeah. It's
But then again, you cannot really trust it that much.
well. Yeah. Does
Because even that can fail, especially if you're out of a cell phone
the cell phone? Yeah.
range.
Yeah. Yeah. One of the guys that we train with, he has it.
Yeah. Did you get the name of it?
Yeah, it's Waggle. Waggle. It's called Waggle. 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 And it's a subscription-based
Yeah.
gadget.
You gotta have subscription. It costs like $12 a month.
Yeah.
It's well worth it, I think.
Especially, I mean, anywhere, but gosh, in Arizona, when we train, I mean, I'm always nervous about leaving them in there.
Yeah, I
with the
always
car
go to my
running.
car and
I
make
know.
sure the
Yeah.
AC is running. Also, when you are, let's say, training and you have a dog in your car, pop the hood. You know,
Yeah.
because the AC, since
There's no air flowing through.
in their infinite wisdom, our government decided we are not going to use Freon, which was very effective, efficient coolant.
Yeah.
We use this R2, whatever it's called, right? And that's not near as good. And so your car will overheat, and there are sensors in your car, and if the compressor start getting overheated, it just shuts down your
Yeah.
AC, right? And then your dog is going to die,
Yeah.
right?
Actually, the Forerunner, our Forerunner, it's a newer Forerunner. It's like a 2021, 22. It has a shutoff. I did not know that after an hour. And last year when we were training, and it shut off. And good thing I checked the car.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
It'll shut off, and it's not even that hot yet.
No, it just shut. I was like, oh, I'm glad I checked. Like,
Yeah,
no, it's
get that app, man.
Yeah, Waggle.
But you still cannot trust it, because if I go in desert places, there is no phone.
Yeah, no signal.
So you park somewhere, there's no phone. You rely on it,
No.
and it's not working, right? Because so just be careful,
Yeah.
And and if you come to the car and you see, let's say you lock your door and you see dogs inside getting overheated, or somebody else's car, people say there's different laws. But I think here in Arizona, if you see a dog which is overheated in a car, his tongue is in that shape, and you can see paint.
Break it.
Just break the fucking, excuse me, window.
Beep.
No, just leave it. Gives me character. Anyway, no, you break the window. Break your window anyway, for sure.
Yeah.
Right? And if you see if you're somewhere in the middle of nowhere and you see somebody else's car and dog is, just break it. Same thing with babies.
Yeah.
Just break the window, man.
Yeah.
What can happen to worse if somebody is gonna sue you for $20 for a new window or something? Whatever. Right, I'll pay $20 for your stupid window.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
At least I save your dog.
Yeah.
And you too,
Yeah.
But then again, like I have on my car written a sticker says temperature is controlled and monitored, right? So that people do not break your window, right? So, it's just different points of view. Personally, I found out the best way to keep the dog cool, let's say in a pickup truck or SUV or somewhere, when it's really hot weather, is just to put the dog on ice.
Yeah.
Right? Literally, you go to convenience store, gas station, and I buy always 3 bags of ice. I buy 2 bags of regular crushed ice, and then I buy block.
Yeah.
Right? And you need to know when you do this, you gotta go to a gas station which cranks up their freezers, right? Because some of them want to save money, and so the ice is still ice, but barely ice, right?
Yeah.
And you can tell when you touch the bag, when the temperature is too high, it's kind of moist, wet, where when the temperature is really cranked up in that store, you touch it with your hand and it's kind of sticky because your fingers melt that
Right away to
that ice, and then it instantly freezes, so it's kind of sticky when you touch it. That's where you want to go, right? To buy ice, or if you have a freezer at home, make your own. and crank it up because the temperature of the ice will vary, right? You have a freezing temperature and it could get 50 below zero. It's still ice, but that ice is 50 below zero is different than the one which is on melting point.
Yeah. So you get a few bags.
Yeah, you get. So yeah, I get 2 bags of crushed ice, and I take one of them and I just rip the bag open and put the ice in, and I don't break because it's usually the ice is kind of sticked in a clumps,
Yeah.
right? So I leave the clumps because the ice will last.
But you
longer.
open the whole bag. You dump.
One bag I just open and put it there, and the other bag I leave it in the plastic bag and I rip few holes in it so it will drain the water.
Yeah.
But it still stays in that bag, and then I take a block and I also rip it. I also rip it, okay?
Okay.
And I hit the microphone.
Oh, I think it's
and that usually lasts, even when it's 100+ degrees here in Arizona, 2 hours anyway. I pick up dogs in LA and I drive through Mojave Desert, and on the coast, usually where the LAX is, the temperatures are moderate.
Yeah.
It could be high, but generally speaking, they're relatively moderate. But when I'm driving, I'm looking at my temperature on my car. The dogs are in the back of the truck, and they start hitting 80 or higher.
Yeah.
I'll just pull over to the gas station and buy ice and put it in those kennels. And as it melts, the dog can drink the water, and then it lays in that cold water, right?
Yeah.
And you can have 120 degrees, and dogs are perfectly fine.
Yeah.
I had people screaming at me, you have dogs in this heat in there.
Look at their tongue.
So either I get belligerent at them, I'm not going to say what I say, and or I just when I have a streak of nice mood at that moment, I'll tell them, come on, I'll show you, and I show them the dogs are just fine.
Nowadays, Hans is he's just, come, I'll show you.
Well, it depends the attitude they have, you see.
Yes. Yeah, it does.
When they start screaming at me, they soon enough wish that they wouldn't.
Yeah.
But so the ice, you just buy ice and put it in that crate, and that's not gonna fail. The AC may fail,
but the ice is
like
constant.
you said,
Yeah.
or you know what? When you drive, let's say up Black Canyon City, and the car, Black Canyon, that uphill.
Yeah, uphill. Yeah.
Right there, and your car will shut the AC out, because, and I've been there, and my AC shut off, and then there is an accident, and you just stay there, you roll the windows down, but it's hot,
Yeah.
Literally 120 degrees,
Yeah.
But if you have ice in the car, in that kennel, and the kennel is plastic, so the bottom is waterproof, so it doesn't, moisture.
So they're almost laying in when it starts melting more, like an inch of.
Oh, probably like 2-3 inches sometimes. It depends.
Water.
And you drive, and then you go. I periodically check on the dogs anyway for about every hour or every 45 minutes. And go look, and I look, and they're just laying there saying, like, what?
Yeah. And that's good because, as you said, the belly, that's less fur, so that's why it's absorbed, right?
Right. So the dog is cool in there, and if I see, maybe, and that takes a long time, even if they lay just in the water after the ice all melted, they're still okay, for quite a while. But you looking at that panting, are they panting, and their eyes, if they get over here, their eyes start bulging, and they panting, and tongue is hanging all the way to the ground, and and if you see that, you gotta hose the dog with the hose and rub the coat so the water goes all the way to the skin. Another good way to cool down, if you have an alcohol, like rubbing alcohol, you pour it on the dog's belly. And that alcohol evaporizes much faster than water, so it cools down much faster. You go ahead and pour alcohol in your hand, and it's really cold, right?
Yeah, real cold.
And drinking, but then again, you don't want a dog drink too much, then they throw up and causes all sorts of other problems. They get dehydrated. So there, so I guess, I don't know, am I forgetting something?
No, I think those were the big ones that
Yeah, just be aware, guys. There's nothing worse than losing dog in your car
heat.
to heat.
Yeah.
And one more thing I tell you. Ever, do this. Do yourself a favor. If you have children too, you just know you left the dog in the house and there's no dog in the back of your car. You just know. Doesn't matter.
If you enjoyed this content so far, please subscribe to our channel. Also, Hans has a podcast channel called Dog Training for Life. Check that out so you can listen to the audio version.
When you're leaving the car, always look. You may realize you forgot there's a baby or there's a dog.
Yeah, it happens.
It happens all the time.
Unfortunately,
Yeah. It happened to that cop in Chandler a few years back. He forgot the dog, and 2 hours later, he realized.
Yeah.
It happens,
Yeah.
man. It's just you gotta, make it a habit, condition yourself. Like that Franz Kafka says, everything I ever learned in its entirety and complexity could be learned from a dog, right? So if we're talking about conditioning the dog in obedience, well, condition
for us,
yourself that when you get out of the car, you go in the back. If it's SUV, open the door. If you have a crate there, look inside of that crate
Yeah.
and make sure there's no dog. Even if you know,
Yeah.
not that you would be stupid, but what you're doing, you're conditioning yourself.
Yeah.
Because, the worst way you can forget the baby or easiest way you can forget the baby or a dog in a car is that you're on the phone and argue with your wife or something, and you get all pissy and you come home and slam the door and dog stays in the back or the baby, and then, you have a dead dog or baby, you know?
Yeah.
So...
It's true. I was on a road trip with both of the dogs, and the crates are way in the back, and I'm driving, and I'm like, did she jump the back? Because I didn't see her ears. Like she was laying. Like, is she really back? I'm driving. Like, is she really back there? Like, I literally stopped.
Right.
I freaked out. Like,
Right.
But it is correct. Like double check them before you leave and stuff.
Yeah,
Or
but
the other
what
way,
happens then, even if you're upset, the automatic kicks in and you still look,
Yeah.
You may still forget if you're really upset on the phone, I mean.
Yeah.
But and I do it even in winter. I just go, and every time I am leaving my car, I look in the back and make sure there's no dog there,
Yeah.
It's just, it becomes, you have to entrench it in your head so that you don't forget.
Yeah.
There's-
You deal with a lot of dogs on top of that too, so it's
yeah, well,
But
it
it
doesn't
doesn't
matter.
matter. It
I
doesn't
always
matter.
have only one in back of my truck, so it doesn't matter. But
yeah.
but it's man, and people say, "Oh, he's stupid," and when it happens, right, they say he's stupid, and you know what, I feel for those people. Shit happens, man.
Yeah, give it time, and you might screw up too.
Yeah, you may screw up too.
Yeah.
Just be compassionate,
Yeah.
Feel sorry for them,
Yeah.
They didn't leave the dog there on purpose,
Yeah.
but it happens.
Yeah.
And that cop, I think, got fired or taken at least out of K9 and
He
all
must
that.
have just.
And they say, well, it should never happen. Well,
It did. Yeah.
that's one of the stupidest arguments I've ever heard. And I have no respect for people who levy arguments like that.
It shouldn't happen. Yeah.
I don't make any, I mean, excuses like, it's not really negligence when it happens. It's just you forget, And I know I'm 70, and I forget shit all the time, So I can just imagine. That's why I condition myself always look in the back of the car, so it becomes totally automatic.
Yeah. Then you don't have to second guess yourself.
Yeah, and
not just
I
second
do
guess.
it on purpose. But sometimes if I would forget, I know I catch myself, and I'm walking away from my car. I'm already by the door of my house, and I say, "Oh, I didn't look in the back of the car."
Yeah.
And I think, well, I know there's no dog, but I still go back, unlock the car, look inside, close it, and then go home.
Yeah. It's a good.
It's just there's no exception, exception. And you know what? I may be, if I would be already in the house and sit down to lunch or dinner, and I still do it. I still do it. Or if I don't remember if I've done it, I'll go ahead and do it again.
Yeah. Yeah. Don't
You know,
be lazy.
just make it a hard and fast rule. I know I spent a lot of time on it, but I've seen few dogs in my life who were left in the cars and died. You know,
Yeah, yeah.
so
That's yeah.
yeah.
Well, that's what these podcasts are about, to educate, sometimes inspire, but a lot of times Hans gives knowledge. I mean, educate. Basically, his
Well, this is my experience.
experience.
You know?
Yeah, talking from experience.
I've
Yeah,
seen. I worked for a kennel, and they forgot a Rottweiler in the off.
yeah, yeah.
You know what?
Yeah.
And people scream, and you know, oh God, that's horrible, man.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah, it's experience basically.
You know, and those dogs are innocent.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
They rely on you.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
You know.
yeah. We don't want any of that.
Yeah. So
happening.
don't.
Yeah, yeah,
You will never stop blaming yourself for the rest of your life if it happens to you.
yeah. No, I don't even want to go there mentally, but
Well, it's
Yeah.
okay to go there mentally.
yeah, we should actually. It's a good thing, so it doesn't. Hopefully, it prevents it.
Yeah, so it
from
doesn't
happening.
happen again.
Yeah,
You know, or to you, I mean.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Hans.
All right.
Yeah, this was great. Please subscribe, share.
Share, yeah,
like
you know.
I like to say, share.
Yeah, this is a good one, you know, guys. Send it to all your friends, you know, this
Yep.
particular one. Not because it helps me too, you know, when you subscribe, but this is important.
Yeah.
You know, this is one of the most important things you can learn about a dog. You
Yeah.
know, how to take care of them. Yeah, I mean, I if you don't feed a dog for 3-5 days, that's not as bad as if you forget the dog in a hot car. You know.
Yeah, yeah. You guys, just one thing, you guys have to realize that this takes an effort from Hans too to do these podcasts, because Hans lives an hour away, and sometimes it's a late in the afternoon when we record these, and we record multiple sessions. He's got dogs at home. I mean, I'm not trying to, feel sorry for Hans. What I'm just trying to say is that it just takes an effort. That's all it is. That's all it is. Magically, this stuff doesn't happen. So
Yeah, I enjoy it. You
Yeah,
know, I
enjoy
enjoy
it.
teaching.
yeah.
You know.
Yeah, so that's why we love to for others to share this, and in a way, 50 years went by, and Hans had videos out. You did have videos, but like this is sort of the first time of 50 years you just like, let's start putting this out into
Well, I
the
hope
world.
we are gonna do
Yeah.
at least half of the topics we have written on.
Yeah,
the
we
piece
have a
of
lot of
paper.
topics. We have a lot of topics. Hans has a lot of knowledge, but I don't know. I'm just gonna try to give you guys a little bit of a backstory about this, because you're probably hopefully enjoying this comfort of your home, and which you should, or listening to it. I don't know. It's
I
just,
appreciate you guys listening too.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
it just tells me that I'm not wasting my time.
yeah. Subscribers are growing, and that's a good thing. So
Yeah.
subscribe, wherever that button could be. We'll be putting buttons there. So, thanks, guys.
Thanks.
See ya.